Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the RoadMap podcast. We've got a very special guest on today, Miss Junell Watson. Nice to have you on, Junell. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we'll get right into it. Obviously, you're out of town right now,
Yes.
ways away from Phoenix, Arizona, right?
Yep.
Awesome. It's a little colder here outside of Chicago than there.
Definitely.
We were all picking on Junell because she was wearing a very large coat in the office the other day, and so that was a fun joke. But it's a dry heat out there, right? So that's the difference. Yeah. Well, awesome. Glad to have you here. You've been with FFL for a decent amount of time as far as new stuff goes, but still pretty new. We haven't hit the year mark yet, right?
Just hit it.
We just hit it. Congratulations.
March is my 1 year.
I don't even have anything for you. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for this, but well, congrats on the 1 year.
Thank you.
Definitely learned a lot throughout that year, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But I want to get into a little bit of your background as well, because you've done some entrepreneurial type of things before this, correct? Can you touch on that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. So I've always been an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, looking for a vehicle for success, but something that also fuels my passion for helping people and making the world a better place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been bakery, hospitality, bakery owner, all that. I was also a teacher. And then most recently before this was doing a startup, trying to create a app-based marketplace for sustainable, ethical companies, as well as ethical banking solutions, and was working really hard to make that happen before I found this. And so that's
boy. There's a lot to unpack there. Some comparisons that you can make from your previous business ventures to this. Are there any similarities? Are there any differences? Can you highlight some of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously being an entrepreneur takes a lot of drive and self-motivation. Yep. So that carries over no matter what you're doing.
Sure.
The biggest difference here is that I've finally found something that is lucrative.
Oh, no.
So something that fuels my passion for helping people, something that I enjoy doing and get to control my schedule, what I'm doing, who I'm helping, all of that. So I still have the benefits of being an entrepreneur, and but also now I'm reaping the benefits and have a lucrative vehicle to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And, I've never done any kind of entrepreneurship or business building before I came here, but I've witnessed secondhand so many of those struggles from, family members, friends, whether it's on, TV. I'm a Shark Tank addict, right? So you see all these people that give it everything they've got, and then there's very little profit in it for them. So it ends up being a charity more than a business. And that's tough. So how cool is it that you're able to find somewhere where it can be both? Like you can do something that is charitable, that is helpful to people, but then also pay your own bills and build your own family's future. So that's really cool. I love to hear that. So you're in the business, definitely some lessons learned, but starting off, how'd you hear about us? And we'll start there and kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So I was, when I decided that I needed to start making some money and leave the startup, I started looking at jobs, and I really realized I didn't want a job. So I had a few opportunities that came about. This was one of them. And I kind of had one foot in and one foot somewhere else. And I was just trying to fill out what I wanted to do. And once I got plugged in here, I almost didn't have a choice. It was like boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden it was like my first day. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of success on my first day.
Yeah.
I protected 5 families day one. And after that, I leaped in and kind of never looked back. And so that's kind of where I got it. But I just found it on Indeed and replied to an ad and ended up here.
Here we are, a year later. That's awesome. I love that. So you were looking for jobs and realized, wow, a job is not for me. I can't handle someone else telling me what to do. I can imagine that after, your whole career being business ownership, it'd be pretty much impossible to go back into that corporate type of world. So you found this. What in particular struck you about this? Because life insurance is vastly different from what you were doing. Anything particular that stuck out to you? Did you compare it to other opportunities in this space or anything like that?
No, I mean, I have, I feel like as weird as it sounds, I've experienced death. And so I feel like I have a lot of compassion for people, and I understand what it's like to lose someone. So I understand what someone's going to go through. And when you're presenting life insurance to someone, you're presenting them with something that you hope they don't have to use anytime soon.
Yeah.
But the harsh reality is no one has that crystal ball. No one knows when they're no longer going to be able to provide for their family. And so I get to anticipate their needs before they know they need it. And so I feel like that's the silver lining that I have from losing someone. So that's kind of what fuels my passion, because, I mean, losing someone can literally take someone from having a wonderful life to their whole world falling apart overnight.
Yeah.
So
100%. I appreciate you sharing. I know that's not easy, and that's been fairly recent too. So it's definitely still very fresh, but I appreciate you sharing that. And that really is cool about what we do. It's no joke. Obviously it's sales, we're having fun. We're here to lock in with everyone. We're laughing, cutting up, but it's really neat that what we get to do is extremely beneficial and impactful for the clients that we help. And, that's not something I experienced before I came here, selling fertilizer and weed control. I wasn't that passionate about it. I wasn't getting teary eyed talking about the fertilizer. Like, hey, you got dandelions, like figure it out, maybe I can help you. But what we do is really, really important. So it's cool to be able to be super passionate, knowing that what we do is going to help people. Another thing I love about what we do here is that, and this is something that you're really passionate about too, is that we're able to help any client that we meet with their specific need. A lot of places in our space, you're kind of handicapped as to how much you can help them or not help them. And you're kind of put in a position that a lot of salespeople are in, where it's, do I help myself and my family, or do I help this client? And I feel like we never have to be in that position. We're always being able to look out for the client and their best interest. And if we do that, well, we got paid. It's a really, really cool thing. So I love that you pointed that out. So you're in the business. We know why you got in now. That's very obvious. Seems like a no-brainer there. What are some lessons learned? Because if you're like me, you learned a lot of lessons year one, and I remember some of them. But what are some of your lessons that you learned throughout this last 12 months here with us?
I mean, what I have learned, and what's crazy, that I've only been doing this a year, and I feel like, day one, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about insurance. I knew nothing about literally anything.
Yeah. But you said you crushed it day one.
Yes, I did.
So how did that happen?
I literally just did what I was told. I was told to do X, Y, and Z, and I did X, Y, and Z, and I got my result, and I was like, wow, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, it was that simple, which is what I always tell people. Like, what we do is hard work, but it's very simple.
Yeah.
Like, we're not trying to invent anything or recreate anything. It's just a very simple process.
That's interesting to me that you said that, though, because I would imagine, had I run 3 businesses, and I mean, if you ran them, like, you had to make some money, you had to do something successful. And from what I've heard about, you're sharing about some of the baking, the teaching and stuff, like, you did very well. Seems like you would have come in with a little bit of, maybe not an attitude or an ego, but like, hey, I kind of know what to do. And especially, learning from, 24, 25, 26-year-old schmucks, like us, what prompted you to come into it with that, with such humility and learning like a sponge?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's the same. It's like the concept of mentorship. Like, if you want what someone else has, then you need to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I just knew, watching you guys, it's like, if I want to be where you are, then I need to do what you're doing. And reinventing the wheel is a waste of your time. Success is not created, it's only duplicated. And I just feel like that's really what I wanted to do. And to get there as quickly as possible, I knew that I could just follow in the footsteps.
That's huge. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. And that is so key. But I know I struggled with that when I started. And I didn't even run businesses before. So I was, just slinging lawn care door to door. So it's a great attitude to come in. I would say a necessary one to come in with. Because if you don't come in with it, you'll eventually get it, or or you won't be here long. You'll have to have that to be able to learn and see success. So I love that. Any other lessons that you'd want to share through that first year that kind of stick out to you as I had to learn that one the hard way, or I'm glad I did this?
I mean, I learned so much,
Yeah.
but I feel like nothing like super major. I mean, just, I don't know, being, I don't know, so many things, but being meticulous and organized and structured is kind of like my biggest thing. Like if I am to mitigate my stress,
Yeah.
I have to have everything in order. That's my biggest thing is I've had to find what works best for me. And obviously I've done a lot of changes through the 1 year that I was, because I obviously started in the field and now I'm doing everything virtually.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's been a huge pivot as well. But I mean, it's actually crazy where I was a year ago and where I am now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to even like comprehend
Yeah,
all
it is,
the
isn't
things
it?
that I've learned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love joking with people. A month here is like a year in the real world. So when you've been here 12 months, it's like you've been here over a decade, and you feel like that too, with lessons learned and experience made. And it's crazy because looking back through the year, maybe we hit goals, maybe we didn't, but you're like, wow, at least I'm way farther ahead than I was. So that's a really encouraging thought for sure. Looking forward to this year, we've got most of the year left ahead of us. What are some of your thoughts and goals as far as what you're looking to do for yourself? And I know you're looking to build a team as well, so we'll get into that. But what are your goals for accountability here with everyone watching? What what are you shooting for this year?
I'm absolutely non-negotiable is hitting Hall of Fame. So protecting 400 families
Yeah.
and I got my numbers and I'm on track and
Love it.
I know
Yep.
exactly what activity I have to put in to get there. And I think staying focused on that and then the weekly goals, the monthly goals, and then we'll hit the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like, obviously it seems like organization comes pretty naturally to you, and I would agree it does to me as well, but most people aren't like that. Do you think that this business can be done successfully being unorganized?
I think that yes and no. So I think it would be a lot harder for you and a lot more stressful.
Yeah.
So why would you do that to yourself?
Makes sense to me.
But I mean, obviously it could be, but you also might
Sure.
end up
Yeah.
in a terrible position.
Right.
But I definitely think that is a key to success is to be able to do this as stress-free as
Yeah,
possible.
absolutely. Yeah. And it can already be stressful. So
Yeah.
why not alleviate it as much as possible? Makes sense. And it sounds like if anyone's looking to get into it and they don't feel like maybe they're as organized as possible, then you would be a perfect fit, because it's like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and I can help you structure this business. So that would be interesting for people to note out there. And then you're looking to build a team as well. So
Yes.
what type of culture, who are you looking for? I know you've talked to me about the team name, and so if you can share a little bit about that, who you're looking for and what it means to you.
Absolutely. So my team name is the Thunderbirds, and the reason being
And there's
is,
definitely a story there.
yes, the reason being, and most of my friends know this, but the reason being is we grew up in a small town, and our Pop Warner football team was the San Ramon Valley Thunderbirds. And me and all my friends have always joked because our tagline was "Pain is temporary, but T-Bird pride is forever." And I feel like having gone through this and hiccups throughout my whole life, we've always like, when something happens and you have nothing to say to someone, we would always say, pain is temporary, but T-Bird pride is forever, to just kind of make them chuckle. And I feel like going through the entrepreneurial journey and building a business has a lot of ups and downs, but
Yeah.
the commitment to building it is what I've made. And so I feel like whatever obstacles and challenges I have to go through to get to where I'm going, it'll be fine, because my T-Bird pride will be forever. And so that's kind of, where I got that from, and it just seems so fitting. Because
There can be some pain here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Definitely.
And you constantly learn and grow from it. So I love that. Awesome. Well, Junell, appreciate you being on. Looking forward to seeing what you're accomplishing this year. It's going to be a great year. Looking for that red jacket, 400 plus families, looking to make the T-Birds official.
Yes.
And definitely well on your way to doing that. We're here to help any way we can, and I appreciate having you on the team. I'm glad we found you, and here's to year number 2.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Another episode of the RoadMap podcast in the books. Thank you to Junell for being on here and pouring into it. Appreciate you all watching, tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content.